I think 20 years from now, everyone will have their DNA sequenced, probably at birth.
That will provide us with a sort of blueprint on our health wiring. It'll point to variations, changes from the normal in our genetics, giving us a heads up on potential problems.
You need to know what the gene change is to link to the disease.
More than 1,000 genetic conditions can be screened for nowadays, but just because you have a genetic variation doesn't mean you'll develop the disease. And of those variations, only 57 of them produce conditions that currently can be acted on.
I think I was surprised and shocked.
Who wouldn't be when learning you're at increased risk for developing Alzheimer's disease, for which there is no preventative or treatment?
I am happy I know. At first I wasn't. At first, I mean, I would lay awake at night, or every time I misplaced my keys in my house, I began to think to myself, oh, this is probably the onset of disease.
As chair of the ethics department at Union College Graduate School, Sean Philpott Jones is well versed in the pros and cons of genetic testing, but he learned of his risk by chance after taking part in a student's project involving genetic screening. A lesson for all of us: don't be cavalier about genetic screening, because you may learn of unexpected potential problems. Based on family history and her own health, Maureen Daly suspected there was something lurking in her genetic makeup. She was right. The genetic screening she took via internet company 23andMe requires saliva samples. It found a genetic variation affecting how her body clears toxic substances, like antibiotics and chemotherapy.
It could be scary, but it also empowers me to do something about it. So I'm not a victim of my circumstances.
Knowledge can be power, provided there's a course of action you can take. There are genetic tests looking for a specific genetic problem, drawing a straight line to developing a disease, like cystic fibrosis or Huntington's disease, or the more broad screening, looking at hundreds of your genes.
To really go into it with your eyes wide open and understand, what is that test going to tell me? Is it information that I want to know? And what will I do with that information once I have it?
Genetic counselors help put all that information in perspective and can assist with decisions about sharing risk information with your family.
Who in the family they would want to tell and what they would do about it.
Geneticist Ricky Lewis believes you should tell family members, especially if your increased risk means they're also at risk. But remember, you and your family can limit the amount of information you get.
I can choose what information I want to have, what information I really don't want to have, and make sure that I understand what those results are when they come back in.
Beyond looking for disease risk, genetic testing can also be used to make treatment decisions, including certain chemotherapies.
And if you're a rapid metabolizer, you need a higher dose of that drug to make it work. If you are a slow metabolizer, the normal dose could kill you.
Bottom line, with few exceptions, most positive tests don't mean you'll get the disease, but may spur you to take preventive action, as often our genes interact with our environment.
My advice always comes down to exercise and eat your vegetables.